What's going on, everybody? Justin here. The Winds of Change is the channel name. Thank you for stopping by. Today, we are going to talk about how to maximize profits during the colder months on Amazon FBA. We're talking about the meltable season. Now, a lot of people don't really talk about this, or a lot of people sort of pass it off and they're not very interested in it, but I'm going to show you today why you should be paying attention to it, the benefits of sending in these items and sourcing these items that are meltable that you can only send in during the meltable season. And then I'm going to have some pretty sweet tips about what I do and I think can help you towards the end of the video, so stick around for that. The meltable season on Amazon is from October 16th to April 14th every year. So that's about 6 months where Amazon will let you send items into the warehouse. These items are typically heat sensitive, like candy or some kind of wax item or something that's going to melt under the heat, like during the summer months, right? So once the weather starts to cool down, then you can send these in and potentially make a lot more profit than you would sending them fulfilled by merchant. These items can be fulfilled by merchant, but we're going to look at why that may not always be the best option and why I get excited about meltable season every year. Let's take a look at just one potential item as an example that someone could benefit from sending FBA over FBM. Let's take a look at this item right here. This is just some candy that I picked out for us to look at because it's meltable, and we're going to make more money sending it into FBA for the most part than we are selling it FBM. And I want to show you this. This is important. So this is a program called SellerAmp right here. It is a paid program. No, I'm not affiliated with them. It is something that I use. One of the things I like about it is that when you scan an item or look up an item or look up an ASIN, it's going to tell you whether Amazon considers it meltable or not. So that's a good indicator if I'm scanning in like July, August, September, outside of that meltable window for FBA, if I can send it in or if I'm going to have to fulfill it by merchant or hold on to it until the season. So I like that about this program. There are other programs out there, but that's just one of the features that are on SellerAmp that I like. Okay, so what's going to be the benefit? Well, for one, we all know that if you sell FBA, you can charge higher a lot of times than FBM. So people that are not selling through the Amazon warehouse, they're sending out of their house or their warehouse or wherever it's at, you can get the buy box over them with a higher price. So we can't really prove it on this example here because nobody has them FBA because it's meltable, right? So nobody can do that yet. But we're just gonna play with some numbers here, and we're going to just estimate, right? So you've got all these different sellers. The lowest right now is $12.48, and then you've got one for $15.95, and then you've got some for $17.48. Okay, so you'd have to price this based on your pricing method and your margins and stuff like that. But let's just say we got this 2-pack for $1.50. All right, let's scroll down here so we can actually see the numbers. So we're going to say we're going to sell this FBA. We're going to list it at $15.95. Okay, it's higher than the $12.98, so it's a couple of dollars higher than that. And we're going to assume that because it's in their FBA, we're going to sell it for higher. All right, so say we spend $1.50 for it. We're going to send that in, and it's going to net us $5.38. That's pretty good, right? Spend $1.50, and we're going to make $5. All right, that's really good. FBA, we can do this during meltable season. This is amazing. Let's say it's not during meltable season and we're forced to sell it FBM. Look how this price changes. We're just going to assume that we sell it for the same price, right? Realistically, you probably have to lower it a little bit to get the buy box, but we'll just say it's the same price so we can do apples to apples here. So $15.95, we sell it. FBM, fulfilled by merchant, not through Amazon warehouse, same buy cost. Here's where the profit takes a hit. I have sold this item or a similar item from or via FBM, and what you can never calculate accurately is who's going to buy it and how much you're going to have to pay for shipping. Okay, so let's just say you have to pay $8.78 for shipping. I live in the Midwest. If somebody from the West Coast buys this item, I'm going to have to pay almost $9. All right. So say I pay $8.78 for this item to ship, and then boom, my profit is automatically $3.28 instead of $5.38. So almost $2 less. If you get 100 of these, that's $200 less profit that you're going to make over sending them in to FBA. So you'd have to ship it somewhere that would make the shipping about $7. And the problem is you can't determine that, right? So I charge free shipping. I think that you have to doing it FBM to stay competitive. You could charge, shipping that goes up and down based on where the person's from, but I think that that's not going to be a competitive move. Free shipping, I believe, is the way to go. You just can't bank on somebody buying it close. If this goes a couple states away, heck, if this goes to Puerto Rico, it's going to be cheaper for me than if it goes to California or Washington. So there's a big variable there, right? Not the case with FBA. You wait till multiple season, you send this in, you're going to make that extra $2 every time. Granted, the price holds. So that's a huge reason for sending these in during multiple season FBA. You're going to make more profit. Another benefit of sending these in to a fulfillment center to sell FBA is that, one, if something happens, say you send this in October and somebody orders it and they have a hot day in Texas that day and it melts on their porch, Amazon is going to be more likely to get rid of any negative reviews that happen. They're going to own it for you, right? So say the customer says, hey, this item was melted on the doorstep and leaves a bad review. You can go to Amazon and say, hey, you guys were responsible for shipping on this and taking care of it, and it wasn't taken care of. And in my experience, Amazon's going to just strike that service right off of your negative feedback. So that's a huge plus. And another thing is that you can just take it, send it, and forget it. Minus any kind of repricing strategies that you have, right? You don't have to store these. You don't have to put them in a bin. You don't have to get an organization. You don't have to put them in a poly mailer. You don't have to put them in a bag. You don't have to put them in a box. You just send it in. Hopefully that clears up a little bit about what multiple season is, how you can maximize your profit during that season. And now I'm going to let you in on a couple of tips that I personally use when I'm thinking about multiple season and sourcing items. The first is that you always want to check the expiration date on these things, because a lot of times it is going to be food type items. You want to make sure you have a good expiration date. Amazon requires 90 days when it hits the warehouse. It needs to have a shelf life of 90 days, or it needs to be 90 days past what the consumption is. Like if it's, for example, it's a vitamin. So you have a vitamin of 120 pills, you take one a day, you need to have 120 days plus 90 days on top of that. The next is always check the data. Use the Keepa graph if you need to. Check the data. Check Keepa. Check the other people who are selling. Check the profit margins. Estimate the shipping. Do your research. When I'm sourcing all through the year, if it's not during October 16th to April 15th or 14th, I am thinking about, does this have an expiration date long enough to last me until then? So sometimes I'll check the data, like the year-long data, and I'll buy them, say in July, and then I'll just hold them until October. And I may list them like FBM to make sales as I'm going. But in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to hold these and send these out when multiple season comes. And I have several items I do that with. I'll just hold on to them, for a couple months until October gets here, and then I'll send them in and go from there. So keep that in mind when you're outsourcing. You don't have to wait until like October 16th to start buying these things. Just make sure that they're in the good date, the date is good, and you can buy them and hold them. So those are the tips that I have, and I hope that this helped somebody, maybe give you an idea of some more items to source, some things that you wouldn't have thought about sourcing, and understanding of what multiple items are, and just the difference in profit that you can make selling them FBA. So if you like content like this, please consider subscribing to the channel, leave a like, leave a comment. Thanks for stopping by, and until next time, I'll catch you all later.